Hello and welcome to DataCamp Donates, Changing Lives Around the World. I'm your host today, Nathaniel Taylor Leach. I am the Community Partnerships Manager here at DataCamp. And DataCamp's mission is to democratize data skills for everyone. And though we're a for-profit company, we walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And on top of our DataCamp for Classrooms program, which makes the best online learning platform for data skills free to all college and university professors and their students around the world, 9 months ago, we started the DataCamp Donates initiative. It all started when we committed to matching all the subscriptions we sold during a half-off promo with donations to subscriptions to people from disadvantaged backgrounds, specifically students, unemployed or underemployed people looking to change careers, research scientists, and anyone otherwise negatively impacted by COVID-19. Because the only thing you can give someone that's guaranteed to benefit them is an education. To date, DataCamp Donates has partnered with over 70 nonprofit organizations and schools in 68 countries in every continent except Antarctica, and we have committed to donating 25,000 licenses to people in need around the world. And we're at about 21,000 subscriptions committed. So if you work at an organization that can help us reach our goal, please email us at donate@datacamp.com. But right now, we're going to meet a wonderful group of panelists who are all members of the larger DataCamp Donates community in one way or another, and I'm really excited to bring them on right now. First up, we have Felix Ayula. Felix is a DataCamp Donates evangelist in Nigeria. We'll get to that, what that means in just a little bit. We also have Zishan Usmani, data scientist, AI, and blockchain expert, as well as philanthropist. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have Mari Haraldson, who is the program manager at Hyper Island, a nonprofit school in Sweden, and also a DataCamp Donates partner. Welcome. We have Kelsey Wu, Chief Strategy Officer at Harvard Square Data Analytics and researcher at the World Bank. Welcome. And we have Isabel C., founder and CEO of the nonprofit Girls Will Code in the Philippines. Welcome. Thanks so much for having you all here. So we are going to start off with Felix here. And Felix is a brand experience and product designer from Nigeria who, besides helping businesses and individuals solve problems with pixels and strategy, is also focused on helping people get access to resources to start their journey in the tech and design industries. As the first DataCamp Donates evangelist in Nigeria, he was instrumental in giving DataCamp access to thousands of fellow Africans. He's a fourth-year chemical engineering student at Obafemi Awolowo University, and he contributes to various communities such as Developer Student Club at his university, Startup Grind Ife, and Data Science Ife, to mention a few. And that's how really you got in touch with me initially, Felix, is you heard about DataCamp Donates through a blog post I wrote and found out that your organization, Data Science Nigeria, was already a partner. And from there, you actually spread the word organically to other data science organizations and upskilling job placement organizations in Africa, such as more developer student clubs around the area, Girls and Ingressa for Good, which is our largest partner, which is committed to giving away 6,000 licenses around the world. So you've really been instrumental in filling the global skill gap, at least for your fellow Africans. So thank you so much. So it's interesting. You're actually you have a big interest in data science, but you're primarily a product designer and brand experience designer. So what value do you, as someone in your profession, see in learning on DataCamp, both as a designer and as an engineer?
Okay. Hi guys. So yeah, data science is it's a profession that many people would call themselves, oh, I'm a data science and stuff, like I'm a data scientist. Data science is also a skill, which means that anybody can learn it. And what I've come to realize is that data science is very important in every aspect of our society. And one thing that is very keen to understand is that in every field that we have, in every aspect of life, there are data, like what you do, the time you did it, the kind of actions that you perform online, and things like that. Now, in fields such as sciences, they perform experiments at different times and they get data from the experiments that they have. Now, we can't we can't probably have enough data scientists to go into those fields to go and help them analyze this data. And as such, we need to empower like the people that are in this field that already have the domain knowledge of those fields. We need to empower them with data skills to be able to make sense of the information that they're getting from this. So yeah, as a product designer, if you talk to the users when you are designing a product, you want it to be able to sell when it gets to market. You want it to first and foremost be something that the users will want. So how do you get that? You perform interviews, both qualitative and quantitative interviews. And when you are talking to people and they are telling you, okay, this is why I'm not satisfied with your product, or this is what I would like, and stuff like that. You need data skills to be able to take those knowledge and see them and make sense out of these things that you have. Also in engineering, when you perform experiments, well, probably I did my internship in biotechnology, and when you run experiments and you get yields, you have a lot of data. You need to make plots to be able to calculate different stuff. And if you everybody have to depend on finding some sort of data scientist and giving it to them before we can make sense of it, the world will be very slow and we'll not be able to make deductions and innovation quickly. So yeah, that's why I think data science is like really, really important.
Yeah, and that's a core tenet of what we believe here at DataCamp is that everyone stands to benefit from becoming more data literate. More and more data is being created exponentially year after year, and so many communities are lagging behind, not only on their ability to analyze data, but just in their in basic tech skills in terms of internet access too. So we need to start working on filling that gap as soon as possible. So you actually already had access to DataCamp for free through DataCamp Donates through our partnership with Data Science Nigeria. What motivated you to really take it upon yourself to spread the word to as many organizations in Nigeria and around Africa as possible?
Okay, so thing is, over here in Nigeria, I don't think it's just Nigeria. Everywhere, community is like the backbone of um learning. You need people that are into what you're into that you can talk to and say, okay, this learning, maybe I run into a problem, I can ask them, oh, I need a solution to this issue and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been into these communities at least for about like 4 years since I started getting into the tech industry, and that is where people share opportunities, maybe free courses. They share resources, different kind of things, and you may feel oh, like maybe that's also something, but you never can tell. It may be just that one resource that somebody shared with you that would give you some sort of skill that would give you an edge over other people when you're applying for a particular job. So when I saw the opportunity and I felt, oh, this is not something that you should like. It's not like if I share it, it's going to affect me or something. So I felt let's send it out and give it to other people. So I sent it to as much people as I could think of at that point in time. Uh, I actually sent it to Blessing was Blessing works on the at Ingressive Capital. She was the one that gave me their email that I sent to her on Instagram. Then she said I should send it to their mail, and before I knew it, they got the partnership. Also, um, Developer Student Club did the same thing and things like that. So yeah, I think it's very, very important that when we get opportunities, we should share with other people. So that's like my philosophy. You don't keep opportunities to yourself. Give it out to everybody that needs it. People need these skills. And if you have access to a free resource on how to learn that skill, this is a course that people would probably not be able to afford. Only a few people will be able to afford it properly. So if somehow you have a way that they can get it free of charge, you should be able to give it to them. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much. That's everything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I wish that more that that everyone could realize the amount of impact that they can create just as an individual by reaching out and spreading the word about great opportunities like this. Because especially in crazy times like these, when everyone can feel isolated, it's so important that you find a community of people who are also have similar goals as you, because that's how you make connections and that's how you get great opportunities to come around like this. So thank you, Felix, for being our data science evangelist in Nigeria. And that brings up and from there I actually want to bring on Sean from Ingressa for Good. Sean, can you hear us? Okay, it looks like we don't have any audio from you, Sean. Okay, we're going to come back to you. But from there, I'm actually going to take it over to our friend Kelsey. Kelsey, hi, how's it going?
Hi, it's good, it's good.
Excellent. So Felix is going to help me ask some questions going on here on in, but Kelsey is just a wonderful partner that we have as the Chief Strategy Officer at Harvard Square Data Analytics, a group that is a student-run data science consulting organization. She is a second-year student at Harvard University studying government and data science, interested in the intersections of product and management, data analytics, and social impact. Currently, she is a product management intern at VTEX and conducts data policy research at the World Bank. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Nathaniel.
So what is Harvard Square Data Analytics?
Yeah, so we're basically a student-run data science consulting organization, as you mentioned. We partner with all sorts of organizations, anywhere from nonprofits to Fortune 500 companies to international organizations to municipal governments to help support data science projects. So whether that is helping create some sort of internal tool that helps analyze data more efficiently or generating data-driven insights for our clients. We do basically everything across the data science scope. And some partners in the past we've partnered with include UNICEF, World Health Organization, Cambridge Local First, which supports local businesses in Cambridge and Boston, where Harvard's based. And various other organizations. So we pair students each semester with organizations and we work with them to scope a project.
Fantastic. So can you give us a sense of some of the projects that you've been happy to work on with your organization, perhaps like something from the past and maybe something that you're currently working on now that you can share a little bit about?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started at organization, I started as an analyst, which is basically the core team that works on each of these projects. And at that time, we were still pretty small, so we were working with local businesses, helping support data there. And I was on a team that worked with a local restaurant in Cambridge, actually. And basically, we were tasked to help analyze their whole all their data pretty much, anywhere from which server served the most dishes or which tables brought in the most revenue, what traffic was like, how that varied over time, over months, over the course of a day, what hours saw the most traffic, and various other data points like that. And we basically were tasked to analyze all their data and create some insights and suggestions on how they could drive revenue and drive profit. And I, in particular, was tasked to look at table arrangement and see, how the general ambiance and local table arrangement of the restaurant could improve revenue and, just drive traffic. So, we looked at Yelp reviews, we looked at external research and analyzed a lot of their internal data. And yeah, we were super excited to see that even after COVID, these changes that we suggested were implemented. And now, our organization has come a long way. During when COVID first started and we were all sent home from campus, we want to kind of take action and support a lot of nonprofits, and nonprofits are really doing great work in global health and supporting people who were really in need after COVID hit. And one of the organizations we supported was the World Health Organization. And we basically helped develop a COVID-19 transmission estimation tool. Basically, it would take the input of a data set and output some visualizations, some estimates of COVID-19 transmission based on those data points that were provided. And we created this interactive visualization tool for their team to send to policymakers, even transmit internally and things like that. And yeah, those are just a couple examples of some great projects that we've worked on in the past.
That's amazing. So it just goes to show that that undergraduates can affect huge amounts of change, both at a really local business level as well as in a global or national political level. That's really fantastic. So how exactly are you putting these DataCamp subscriptions to use?
Yeah, for sure. So mostly in two ways. The first one is we support our case team. So these project leading students to hone their data science skills and to prepare for any data science knowledge that they might not have learned in class to tackle these client projects. So for example, one of our case teams this semester was partnered with a startup, and unfortunately I can't provide too much information about that startup because of non-disclosure agreements, but one of these projects involved data visualization, and our case teams wanted to pursue this with Tableau, since they thought Tableau was a great tool to solve this problem. But unfortunately, we hadn't learned Tableau in class, or at least the case team hadn't learned Tableau in courses yet. So they have been using DataCamp to hone their Tableau skills and really learn about how Tableau can be applied to real life projects. And yeah, it's been a great transition into them actually applying this to project-based learning. And secondly, we also offer an education track. So any Harvard undergrad who wants to learn data science on a non-committal basis and also in a more friendly and student-driven environment can come learn data science with us. So we provide two tracks under this education track. One is the beginner track, which includes intro to Python, includes some basic visualization, some Matplotlib, and things like that. And then we have an advanced track that includes some machine learning, and we do natural language processing, and all these are also project-based. So at the end, we help these students produce a deliverable or some proof of education. And DataCamp has been a huge help with that, since we can give assignments. Students love DataCamp because they can do it like concurrently to school, and they can do it pretty much anywhere they want when they have Wi-Fi. So yeah, it's been really great to kind of use these DataCamp subscriptions to spread data science on campus.
Yeah, and even if they don't have Wi-Fi, because we make a lot of our materials available for offline viewing as well for those, because internet connections around the world can be, well, your mileage may vary. So if I could just clarify, so are you giving out DataCamp licenses to data science majors at Harvard, or is it open to any undergraduate?
Yeah, so it's actually open to any undergraduate, because we very strongly believe that data science advances really any field, whether it's social science, humanities, or STEM, which conventionally uses data science. And we actually took a survey of our education track students, and out of 20 DataCamp students surveyed, there were already like 10 majors represented. Anywhere from philosophy to economics to government to social studies, a whole span of the majors we provide at Harvard. So it's been really exciting seeing people apply data science to any major that they're a part of, and especially global health nowadays has been obviously a very pertinent problem that a lot of our students, no matter what major they are in, want to solve. So it's been really exciting seeing data science kind of enter every track.
Thank you. That's so great, making your whole campus more data literate. And of course, that's super possible with the combination of DataCamp Donates and DataCamp for Classrooms for any school around the world, as well as these specifically nonprofit student-run groups like yourself. And why? But in terms of how for students like yourselves who are more so focused on data science at Harvard, why is having the extra resource of DataCamp, why has that been a help, especially recently?
Yeah, so I think Harvard, as kind of a more liberal arts university, really focuses on theoretical knowledge in our classes. So it's even in like computer science classes or data science classes, we learn a lot about the theory behind, behind the code, behind the programming, right? But DataCamp has really provided some real world experience to prepare us for careers, right? That is a little bit less theoretical. And the project-based learning that DataCamp provides, as well as like the step-by-step, kind of really supports that process of like, okay, how do I apply this to a job after, or how do I apply this to an internship? And that's been really great. And that's kind of what we've heard from our students who have been using DataCamp. And it's great coupled with the theory that we learn in class, because we see it applied in this more practical manner.
Yeah, and I'm sure it probably was handy. How did your group move to a remote model with the pandemic? Was DataCamp able to help out with that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely moving to remote was tough because all of a sudden we were taking classes on Zoom. We were just doing everything remotely and virtually. But DataCamp definitely helped us, one, like communicate the tools we needed to use. So for them, we could send a DataCamp module over to say like, oh, we want to implement this R package. Like, take a look at this DataCamp video. And do some coursework on it before we hop into the project. Or we could say, oh, we want to use like Matplotlib to do this, and if you don't know how to do this, here's a DataCamp course on it. So yeah, it's been very, very helpful to communicate that.
So cool. And so going from Kelsey to soon to be college student actually is our good friend Isabel C. And I'm going to keep, and Felix, Kelsey, I may put you off camera for a second, but please feel free to ask questions too. This is a discussion. There's a lot of information that we can share here, but welcome, Isabel.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us from the Philippines. It's actually 12. It's past midnight where you are, so thanks for staying up late for us. I appreciate it. So Isabel C. is the founder and executive director of Girls Will Code, which is a community organization encouraging and helping girls to take part in coding and STEM, as well as the co-founder of the coding school in the Philippines. Now, she is 17 years old and is currently interested in studying at the intersection of tech and society. Other than learning about all things tech, she enjoys reading and spending time with family and friends, and she's a youth champion for SDG 5 Gender Equality and a Youth Innovators Program awardee. She's given talks on the TEDx stage, and actually, even though she is the youngest participant in today's panel, she has the most experience as a nonprofit CEO and in the tech space. Because how old were you exactly when you founded Girls Will Code?
I founded Girls Will Code when I was around 12.
12. Okay. So that's about 5 to 6 years in the game. So yeah, how did you get into coding and then up from there, why did you start Girls Will Code? What's its mission?
So I started Girls Will Code. So first of all, before I talk about how I started Girls Will Code, I'll talk about how I got into coding. Yeah. So I got into coding when I was around 10 years old. And this is because my math teacher actually suggested it to my friend at the time to look into coding. And so because I was so interested in it as well, I looked into coding for myself. And through that, I realized that coding gave me the power to essentially create anything that I wanted to. So with websites, games online, games on my phone, on my iPad at the time. And so I was so excited to learn about coding. I later saw the more I learned about coding, I later saw how coding was all around us with our laptops, our phones, or even the streaming site over here on Restream. And so the more I learned about coding, the more I realized that I wanted to continue to code because I wanted to create something where I could contribute to society as well. However, the more and more I learned about coding, the more I encountered problems online where I was learning at the time. And whenever I would encounter these problems, I would try to search up my problems online on websites. And I would be so confused with all of the words and phrases on the screen, and I wouldn't know what to do. And so I went to my parents, as one does when they're around 10 years old, and I told them about coding. And the first thing that they asked me was, "What is coding?" And then I explained it to them. And then the more I talked to them, the more they wanted to help me learn to code. And so the first thing that we tried to do was look for a club here in the Philippines for me to learn coding with other girls. But at the time, there wasn't any club here in the Philippines for me to learn to code. And so that's how Girls Will Code really started. Girls Will Code originally started because I wanted to learn coding and simply form a community where we can encourage other girls to learn. However, the more I spent time growing Girls Will Code and the more I taught other girls to code, creating clubs and speaking at other events, the more I realized that there was a greater importance of forming Girls Will Code, and for two reasons mainly. The first is for financial empowerment. And so here in the Philippines, a lot of girls don't really consider the option of coding and having STEM careers or being an engineer. Teaching girls to code and opening them up to this opportunity of coding gives them financial independence that they could have in the future, which can really help the Philippines grow. The second thing is something that I hold really deep to my heart. As I started to learn more about coding, the more I realized that STEM has the power to solve world problems. However, without the proper representation in STEM, with women representation, we cannot properly address the problems of our world. And so that's really what keeps me going and the reason why I continue to do Girls Will Code today. And so today in the Philippines, our goal is to give every girl in the Philippines opportunity to code, specifically for girls age 11 to 15, because girls gain interest in coding at 11 and lose it at 15 years old. And so we do this through workshops, outreaches at local schools, and other activities, and most recently, learning data science with DataCamp. So yeah, that's a bit about Girls Will Code and how I started it.
Wow, that is so inspiring. So, what advice do you have to give to other nonprofits that are looking to get in touch with girls specifically that want to try to upskill them and train them with STEM?
I would say, be ready to show girls and empower them to learn about coding. I actually have a story about how I first started Girls Will Code. When I first started Girls Will Code, it was mainly to start clubs in my school. And so the first time I tried proposing Girls Will Code was to my middle school at my old school that I went to. And so I was so excited because I finally got allowed to start a club at my school. I created a curriculum and I had a teacher advisor as well. And I showed a video to my whole school about what coding was about. And so I really thought that once I gave girls the opportunity to learn about coding, so many girls would sign up in my school. And so when my teachers told me how many people signed up, I was shocked because only one person signed up for Girls Will Code. And I was really discouraged at that point because I really thought that when people would learn about what coding was, they would be really excited to join. But this didn't stop me, so I tried again. And this time I moved schools, so I did at my new school, and I created a curriculum. I showed a video as well, and this time I made the video even better. And this time, 0 people signed up to join Girls Will Code. And I was even more discouraged. But this time, I decided to take a new approach. So this time, during my lunchtime, I went to every single classroom in 5th grade, and I basically made a little program on my laptop with a small little game. I think it was a shooting game for spaceships. And so I went to every classroom and I came into their classroom and I showed them the game and I was like, this is what you would make if you were to learn how to code. And so I did that for every single classroom for 5th grade as well as 6th grade. And then afterwards we had 15 signups. And this is not a lot considering even the people who are viewing this live stream right now. But to me, it was a huge accomplishment. And it really taught me that I have to really be persistent. And if we show girls opportunity that they'll have and what they'll be able to do with coding, the more people will be able to join. So yeah, that's my advice, to be persistent.
Yeah, and also like the medium is the message, right? You need to conform you need to be willing to speak the language of the demographic that you're trying to engage, and to show them all the possibilities there.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm wondering. So you mentioned that data science and STEM are so crucial into solving so many of the world's problems, and you think that representation is a big part of that. Why do you think that? I mean, obviously, it's important to that STEM fields are as inclusive as possible, so that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. But why do you think a representation in diversity and inclusivity is also important in terms of actually solving the problems? You seem to hinted at that before.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I talk about as to why girls in STEM are important, or diversity in STEM is important in general, especially in coding and data science, is because with this proper representation in these fields, we're able to create solutions with these new viewpoints, I guess. And one example that I can give is in AI. And this is, I think, has recently been like a hot topic in AI as well. So one of the biggest issues in AI is this idea of bias. And I'm a bit new to artificial intelligence, so I don't know if I can speak on it properly. But from what I know, and hopefully I'll learn more through DataCamp, is that a lot of times with AI, the data that you feed it trains how it works. So for example, for a facial recognition system, if we train it faces on just males, then it'll be more tailored towards recognizing faces of men, or same with vice versa. And so a lot of times what happened with things like facial recognition systems is that it was trained on data that was mainly for people who are white, and white males specifically. And so a lot of times these facial recognition systems wouldn't recognize all faces correctly, or like would falsely recognize faces. And so the issue here is that we weren't having like proper data. And so by having proper data within these AI solutions, we're able to properly have facial recognition systems. I don't know if I covered that clearly. I think Zishan can talk more on it. But the general idea is that by having more creators who are able to better understand technology and better understand the society that we need to create these solutions for, the better we can have these solutions tailored.
Yeah, Zishan, does that? I mean, that seems to check out for me. It makes perfect sense, because so many of these problems affect so many different people in different ways. So in order to solve those problems, we need all hands on deck, so to speak. Would you say that's accurate, Zishan?
Yes.
Man, a few words. I love it. Excellent. No, that's definitely not the case. We're going to get to you more in a little bit, I'm sure. Kelsey, you wanted to ask Isabel a question?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I just wanted to say, like, as a woman, or I guess a young woman who's like looking to go into STEM, it's like really, really inspiring to see the work you're doing, Isabel. Wanted to ask you, how can we make a better learning environment for girls to learn how to code, right? Even at the college level, we see that there are some just like inadequacies in computer science curriculum and data science curriculum, and how that benefits underserved and underrepresented communities. So yeah, wanted to hear your take on how we can improve that learning environment.
I think for me, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that I think there is around 2 ways that I think are really important. So the first is having female role models. I used to think that this wasn't as important because I originally didn't have a female role model in tech. But as soon as I got one, or someone I looked up to, it really encouraged me to go more into STEM, because I realized that I had a possibility in this field. And so I would encourage anyone who is interested in going into tech to do your research and to find other women who you look up to who are in the tech field, because it can really encourage you and inspire you to keep on learning about technology. The second thing, which is what I hope to do with Girls Will Code, is the aspect of community. And so when I was first learning to code, I was learning by myself. And so it was really discouraging at times, because when I wouldn't understand something, I wouldn't really have anybody to go to, and I wouldn't have anybody to talk about it with. And so this was really discouraging for me, especially as someone who was around 10 to 11 years old, to learn to code. And I also have a story for this actually, and it's in my high school. And so in my high school, I was already into coding, but I wasn't planning on joining the robotics team, mainly because I didn't really know anybody in the team. And in our school, we have like individual teams for robotics, and so I didn't have anybody to be in my team with, and so I didn't really want to join robotics. However, I think in my freshman year, a group of girls were also going to start a robotics team in my grade. And so I was so excited. And so they invited me to join their team. And that's actually how I got into robotics. And robotics became like a continuous thing in my high school experience. And so without this idea of community and other girls who were also willing to join and learn about coding, I wouldn't have joined robotics myself. So I would say having this feeling of community and this idea that other people are learning the same things as you are alongside you is a great way to encourage other girls to go into STEM.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with you. And yeah, I definitely, being from like Silicon Valley and being from the Bay Area, can definitely understand the like majority male feeling of like stepping into a tech space, right? So yeah, it's super, super exciting work that you're doing, educating younger girls and getting them into STEM.
Thank you.
Oh, Nathaniel, we can't hear. I think you're muted.
Felix, you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Being a jack of all trades myself, I would like to know, Isabel, how have you been able to combine running a nonprofit and going to high school at the same time? What are the challenges that you faced and things like that?
Yeah, I thought my high school career was intense, but I can't begin to imagine how you're able to do it. Please share. What is it? A magic wand? What do you do? Time turner, like in Prisoner of Azkaban?
Yeah, so this was one of the bigger issues that I faced when I was growing Girls Will Code, because I wanted to be able to encourage other girls to code, but at the same time, I was also learning to code myself, and I was also being a high school student. And so one of these like moments that I had where I realized that I had to balance being a student and like balance growing Girls Will Code was in my junior year when I was studying for the SATs, and I had just taken my first SAT ever. And the SATs, for those who don't know, is like this huge like 3 to 5 hour test in the morning. And it's called like standardized testing to go into university. And so I first took my 5-hour SAT test, and right after I was so tired and I wanted to talk to my friends and just hang out. But then right after I had to go on a car ride, and we had to go through Manila traffic for about an hour to go straight to a panel that I was speaking at in front of like 200 people. And so that's kind of like an example of how I've had to balance between being a student and also running this nonprofit organization where I speak at a lot of events a lot. And so I think for a lot of these things, there's like two reasons why I motivate myself, and two solutions. So the first is because as I start to grow Girls Will Code, the more I realize that just like how Girls Will Code needs a community, Girls Will Code's goal is to build a community, I also needed a community of people who were like me, who wanted to continue to grow Girls Will Code. So today I have a team of around 20 people, with 5 core people, and they help me grow Girls Will Code, and I'm so grateful for them. They're all high school students who are like me, and so it really makes growing Girls Will Code a lot easier and makes it a lot more fun as well. The second thing is that the biggest thing that keeps me going with Girls Will Code is this feeling that I get right after I speak at events, right after I teach, and also right after I hold workshops or other activities for Girls Will Code, where, especially when it was like physical events, where students, teachers, parents, or even people who worked at companies would come up to me and just like talk to me afterwards and be like, oh my gosh, I really want my daughter to learn how to code now, or I really want to learn how to code, or I really want to start teaching coding at my school. And so that really kept me going, and that's like the reason why I continue to do what I do today.
Isabel, do you mind if I ask you a question too?
Yeah, sure.
So
Hi,
first
Mari.
of all, Nathaniel?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying hi. Yes, this is Mari. We'll be talking to her in a bit about Hyper Island, but please ask a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. First of all, I think you're amazing. And as you were talking about role models, I thought of you. So I think it's really cool that you are living, breathing, doing this stuff, and actually being that role model for so many people. And a question I have for you as a non-tech person is, why is it important for someone like me to learn more about data science?
Okay. I think this is a really good question because there are actually people who are on my team for Girls of Code, like my sister actually, who isn't particularly doing STEM. And so I think, so I think this is a really good question that a lot of people in my family also ask me as well. So I think it's really important because STEM, specifically coding and data science, is becoming more prevalent in in so many fields, like in art, creating digital art, or even when I had an internship in my junior year, I had to create like this program for the business side in my company that I was working at to create like this tracker for our employees. And so I think the more data science becomes more ingrained in our lives, the more it's important for other people who aren't even in the data science field to learn about it. So that's like a general summary. And I think DataCamp does that pretty well. And I know DataCamp has like these DataCamp theory or like application type courses that are mainly targeted towards learning data science for people who are not necessarily going into like specific data science fields.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I'm so proud of our DataCamp for Everyone courses, where there's really no coding required. It's just a really great way to bring anyone in on the basic concepts behind what it means to be a data scientist, a data engineer, a data analyst, what is AI, so that anyone from beginners who with no previous data science experience to the most advanced learners can get something out of DataCamp. And now that Girls Will Code has access to DataCamp, you're actually a relatively recent partnership. You're in the process of onboarding all of your learners. How do you plan on making the online learning platform? How do you plan on utilizing it? What plans do you have to use it to teach your learners?
Yeah, so we just became a DataCamp's partner. And the idea that I shared with Nathaniel was actually having something called a coding book club. And so I was really excited about this idea because basically what I thought was that we would basically learn together, but at our own pace about data science. And I thought DataCamp was the best option for this because oftentimes what we struggle to do with Girls Will Code is to find a learning site or a learning platform where it's easy for people to learn and start learning, but also something where girls are able to grow their skills to more advanced levels. And I think DataCamp does this and kind of shows the best of both worlds in terms of learning sites online. And especially with data science, which is something that's so new. And so for this coding book club, what we're planning to do is we're planning to learn together, but everyone at their own pace and at their own level. And DataCamp does this really well. As I tried out DataCamp recently, and I know DataCamp, like you have to take a test, or you can take a test to figure out where your level is.
Mm-hmm,
and
a
so
signal assessment.
Really useful. Yeah, a little assessment to figure out where your level is. I think it's really useful because in our team, we have people of different levels, people who are super into like Python and data science and people who are new and more towards other aspects like design. And so by having this like assessment level thing, we can learn at our own pace and learn towards things that we're more interested in.
Awesome. I want to bring Mari back into the conversation here. Thanks so much, Isabel, and feel free to ask some questions and comments as we continue. So Mari Haraldson is a Swedish-Korean New Yorker with social impact work experience from 4 continents. She brings a deep empathy, adaptive leadership, cultural acumen, and a wonderful smile to all of her endeavors. And she is currently the program manager for the data analyst program at Hyper Island in Sweden. In this role, she leads 80 students, building on over 10 years of experience in facilitation, learning design, and strategy. Welcome, Mari.
Hello.
So first off, what is Hyper Island? It's a bit of an odd name for a school. What is it, and how is it different from other colleges or graduate schools?
Yeah, I love this question. And actually, before this call, Felix asked me the same thing. And after I described it, he said, "Oh, that sounds really unconventional," which I think is a really good word to use. So I would say that what really makes us stand out in terms of what's different about Hyper Island is that we have two kind of key focus areas for all the programs that we run. The first is around learning by doing, the belief that this is a safe space to fail fast and to iterate and grow. And then the second is really about being real world ready, right? So we actually design all of our programs to support our students in being ready for jobs as soon as they graduate. And that's how we think about everything that we design. So as an example, a little bit actually what Kelsey was saying is very much in line with how we do things in our core programs, which is to partner with clients and to work out actual project briefs, to put the students in delivery teams, to give them deadlines and problem statements, and actually give them a chance to learn by doing. And another key part of this is that they get that chance over and over again. They do it with big companies, like big names like we all know, like Volvo, but they also get to work with smaller startups. And by that, actually get to see what does it look like to try to ask different questions when you have really little data. And then what does it look like and feel like when you have massive data and you're trying to ask those same questions, right? So really, this is about getting access to the content knowledge by practicing. And then we, in parallel, have workshops and lectures from professionals in the industry that actually have these jobs day to day. So we bring in data analysts and data scientists and conversion specialists and all kinds of people who get to share the tools that they use, why they think those tools are effective, the kinds of projects that they deal with. And the other side of it is also dealing with people, right? Like, I think working with data is one thing, but trying to actually connect with different stakeholders or trying to achieve different goals, at the end of the day, it's about relationships and trust and communication. So we spend a lot of time doing workshops on that and bringing in different speakers and asking questions around things that we hear all the time, like inclusion and diversity. Like, what is that? What does that look like? So I would say it's unconventional and it's a very dynamic space.
That's really cool. And one thing I also want to make clear to all of our viewers is that DataCamp donates recipients and learners who get these licenses. They don't pay anything for access to DataCamp donates. And not only that, the programs like Hyper Island that they're getting DataCamp donates access through aren't charging anything for their services either. So in this case, the students who have access to Hyper Island are not paying or have their tuitions covered by the government. So it's really this really important thing for me anyway, that this is a true in-kind donation that DataCamp is making to these wonderful nonprofit organizations and schools, because they know their communities best. And someone like you, Mari, I would love to be able to give out 25,000 licenses personally to people all around the world, but I'm just one man. So it's why we're relying on wonderful partners like you who know their local communities best and know who to give it to that can really take the best advantage of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And I'm curious, as an actual school, who typically, with a real building and office and classrooms, physical spaces, how did you manage to transition into remote learning when everyone's lives were turned upside down about a year ago with the lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the question we're all asking and wondering of each other, right? I think one thing about Hyper Island that is really true both for how we work internally, but also how we work with our programs, is this mindset of embracing change. And like I said, learning by doing. So that means that we're in a stage where the data analyst program has run pretty much for a year. We have students graduating next week. And those students got to experience kind of a portion of their learning being completely remote, and they had to experience their internships being completely remote. And then at the same time, we took on another group of students who had to be completely remote, and we've been running with that since August. So I think that due to the way that we work and really trying to understand and gather feedback quickly and to see, okay, this method of delivering a lecture online really sucks. We should not do it like that again. Okay, how do we do it differently? And really sharing that knowledge with all the different partners and people that we engage with has been really key. And I think, to say that it hasn't been difficult wouldn't be honest. Of course, it is difficult, and we miss each other and we miss our Post-its and our whiteboards and our chalkboards and all the things that we use. But I think really that mindset and that commitment to embracing change and learning by doing has been really key. I also think that working with partners like DataCamp and actually giving our students access to an individualized platform is really important because, so to your point earlier about, I see kind of a shared mission between us, right? Like you all are thinking about democratizing data skills and we're thinking about democratizing lifelong learning, essentially. So within that space, by giving access to DataCamp, our students who have zero experience in coding all the way to years of experience in coding can find places and find different tools and find different things that they can do in DataCamp to keep that learning going and to really push themselves and their limits. So I think having that partnership while being online and having to learn by doing and how we deliver our courses has been really helpful. It's kind of like there's like a stability in all of the craziness that I think has been really valuable. And I think what we've also learned is that it's not just stability in times of COVID and remote, but it's actually stability in a form of learning, that actually having that space to practice those skills in the midst of all the project work and teamwork has added tremendous value.
Thank you, Mari. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And thank you also for connecting us to more nonprofit organizations that can benefit from becoming DataCamp Donates partners. You know, that's a wonderful thing I love about the nonprofit space is just how collaborative it is. So thank you. And I want to bring Zishan, Dr. Usmani, into the conversation too, because you are an expert at forging online communities. You have an immense amount of followers, especially from areas like Pakistan and India and Saudi Arabia, but from all over the world, because democratizing tech education has really been your mission all along. Just a little background on your incredibly impressive CV. You might go a little over time just from reading it, but I really must. Dr. Usmani is a Fulbright Scholar and Eisenhower Fellow. He holds a PhD and MS in computer science from the Florida Institute of Technology, and his work has been mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, AOL News, Wired Magazine, NPR, MIT's Technology Review, Florida Today, The Economist, and CNN, and so on. He has authored dozens of research papers, articles, and several books, and his research strengths include artificial intelligence, data sciences, and predictive analytics. He was a visiting scholar at Brown University and an industry professor at Coventry University. He divides his time between Princeton, New Jersey, Sri Lanka, Dubai, and Islamabad in Pakistan. Welcome, Dr. Usmani, and where are you joining us today?
So I'm joining from Islamabad, Pakistan right now.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Wow. Good. Hard to keep track of you sometimes. Amazing. So I first learned about you from an acquaintance of yours, a college student who applied for DataCamp for Donates for his student-run group in Pakistan. And he said you recommended the data scientist for Python track to him initially. And so why do you recommend DataCamp over traditional data science courses? And why that track specifically?
So I do data sciences for a living. I've been doing this for the last 12 years or so. And I've gone through so many certifications from all of the vendors under the sun. I had 176 certifications, mainly in data science, AI, and blockchain. Personally, what I feel, the DataCamp is the perfect. If somebody wants to go from 0 to 10, become a good data scientist, one thing he needs to follow is the DataCamp Python for Data Scientist track. It's amazing. It's 23 courses, 92 hours long. They kind of, take your hand and teach you from all the level, from beginners to all the level to the master's level. And there is like nothing left that you would be surprised to see in your practical life if you've gone through the DataCamp. So I cannot say this about any other vendors out there.
Wow. So what is your background? What opportunities has data science unlocked for you personally?
So I did my PhD in computer science from Florida Tech, working on data. There was no big data name back there in 2009, working from counterterrorism to Walmart to supermarkets. And what I see that we are generating more and more data. So, you must have heard that the amount of data that we have generated in the last 400 years got generated every 18 months. So this is kind of amount of data that we are generating. We would have 20 billion IoT devices by the end of this year. That's, 3 times the size of the population on Earth. And then we are keep adding more and more. So everybody's generating the data. So if you do not know how to deal with the data, you will, you would just paralyzed to that. You cannot do anything. And if you do not put in a particular context, data is very, very harmful and misleading. So guts feeling in the age of big data should be a punishable crime. When you have data about everything available out there, you should use those data to make data-driven decisions. So this is what I've been preaching. This is what I do for a living, and this is where I advise.
Yeah. So growing up in Pakistan, what kind of opportunities were there for you to learn these topics? And
So I did my basic education from Pakistan, computer science, but I'm very old. So when I finished my undergrad in 1998, there was no Facebook or Amazon or apps or anything. But when I got to USA on my Fulbright scholarship, this is what I found, that world is going towards emerging technologies, data sciences, AI, and blockchain. And with all of these automation, AI, and RPS coming, a lot of people are going to lose job. So some estimate says that we would lose between 600 to 900 million jobs in next 10 years. But it will also create another 600 million jobs. But all of those jobs required coding in one form or another. So if you change the definition of literacy from being able to sign to being able to code, global literacy would drop from 86% to 3%. And that's quite alarming. So this is why I teach emerging technologies to all of my students and talk about data sciences, AI, and blockchain all the time. But this is where future is going.
yeah, wow. And so, Isabel, you had a question about other platforms.
Yeah, so I was wondering how you think DataCamp Donates compares to other online learning solutions for schools and nonprofits.
Yeah, that's a valid question because we're not the only game in town. There's a lot of other online learning platforms for data science skills and that may offer deals specifically for nonprofits. For those that specifically want to get into become data literate, how is DataCamp Donates a better option for nonprofits and schools?
So there is no difference between DataCamp and DataCamp Donates. Is exactly the same version. If you talk about other vendors, it's always a watered down version for the free ones. So if you have 10 courses, but if you want a free one, you will have access to half of the courses, or you would not have access to real-time teachers, or you would not have access to the real-life projects. So that I didn't like about it because it's kind of free, kind of like a fish hook to get you in. But there is only so far you can go. With DataCamp, there is no limit. The sky is the limit, and everything that's available for a paid version is available for a free version as well. And this is I really like about DataCamp.
Yeah, we're really proud of that fact that we are offering really the fully featured platform to all of our DataCamp learners and admins. We're talking about access to over 350 courses, skill assessments, guided and unguided projects, access to the free access to the mobile app. It really is fully features, as well as the ability for admins to follow on their users' progress through account dashboards and things like that. Not to mention a real connection with me, the community partnerships manager, and create a platform where we can celebrate each other's successes because ultimately we want to get people jobs through DataCamp Donates. That's there's many different goals and many different wonderful organizations that we're partnering with that aren't focused on that. Just recently, we finalized a partnership with Telethon Kids Institute in Australia, which is focused on researching childhood diseases, and that's great. But the bread and butter of DataCamp Donates is getting people jobs, and so I really do think that this is the best way to do it. And by sharing those success stories on a bigger platform, we're hoping that we can increase those people's online profiles as well, so maybe they can get more jobs.
This is where Pakistan needs more of DataCamp. We have 138 billion youth, the people between the age of 15 and 29 in Pakistan. That's 46 youth per mile if you distribute it geographically. And they need to learn to code, or they need to learn data science to get good jobs. So if we can take them out of poverty by teaching them data science, that's the best thing we can do. And this is where DataCamp can help.
Yeah, and I'm actually really excited to announce that DataCamp Donates is going to be partnering with your corporate social responsibility project, Al-Nafi. Dr. Usmani, could you please tell everyone at home a little bit about Al-Nafi?
So Al-Nafi is the Urdu version of Coursera. So we have all of the courses. We have 80 plus courses available in 13 local languages. So Urdu, Pashto, Dari, Farsi, Persian, Punjabi, and Sindhi. Pashto as well. So people can come and join. They pay like $20 a year for all of those 80 courses, can become a cybersecurity professional, can become a hacker, can become a data scientist, AI developer, blockchain developer. So this is a very low cost version for the youth in Pakistan to learn the emerging technologies.
Yeah, so what's wonderful is that you offer these courses in multiple languages, which is a feat in and of itself. DataCamp is English based. However, our videos do have auto generated subtitles in, I believe, 8 other languages. And to be clear, we're going to extend DataCamp donates to your learners in Pakistan specifically as a pilot program to start, and we will be and again, paying no tuition, just the registration fee in some cases, so that we can make this possible for your learners. But also, we're going to work to identify learners in Pakistan who are unemployed or who are well below the national poverty line, so that we can offer them DataCamp donates and Al Nafi access completely free of charge, which is something I'm very, very excited about doing because we're all about breaking down barriers here at DataCamp. And speaking about breaking down barriers, I would love to bring in, to finish this off, Blessing Bing from Ingressive for Good. Ingressive for Good is our largest partner at DataCamp Donates, and also brings us back to Felix as well, because Felix was the one that introduced Ingressive for Good to DataCamp Donates. And Ingressive for Good is our largest partner and committed to distributing 6,000 licenses to Africans all over the continent. It's been an amazing journey with Ingressive for Good, and so inspiring to see just how fast you've been able to get these licenses in the hands of people who really need it. So thank you, Blessing, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're a little bit over time, so we're just going to go on a couple of questions here. Unfortunately, Sean, the CEO and founder of Ingressive for Good, was facing some technical difficulties and couldn't arrive. But thank you so much for filling in his place. Yeah, why is donating in education always better than donating money or commodities?
Yeah, so thank you very much for this question. One of the things we've really noticed in the ecosystem and in the world at large is most times when you ask people what are the challenges that you have or what challenges are you facing, one of the first answers you would get is capital. We need money, we need capital, we need all those interesting things. And people tend to ignore other forms of capital that tends to exist, which often revolve around social capital, mind power, brain capital. And these things are super important because, okay, am I still here? Oh, right.
Yeah.
So these things are super important because first you get the chance to network. And while you're getting all those skills and education and whatnot, you're also getting the power to network, the power to mingle with people, to access teachers, mentors, and people who could not only teach you about skills, hard skills, but who could also provide you with soft skills. So you get exposure from learning. And then you also learn how to communicate in a language that is understandable on a global scale. And then primarily you get the skills, because skills open doors for you. Everybody in the world either wants someone who can solve their problems or help them make money or save money. Those 3 things are important. But you can't do those things if you're not educated. You can't do those things if you don't have the skills and the way to communicate with the people who need those things. So it's so important that there's you can get skills that could help you deal or navigate the ecosystem and the world in general and help you solve problems. But beyond that, it's also the gateway out of poverty, because most people are poor in Africa. A lot of people are poor in Africa, and one of the ways that we've seen that have been able to lift people up is education. However, tech holds a bigger solution when comparing job roles, payment, people get like what's it called now? The remuneration that other people get. We found out that people in particular institutions, maybe working in banking and finance or just like general industries, will probably get paid a certain amount, but their peers in tech will get paid 2 or 3 times that amount. And so we decided to invest more in educating people in that sector that have the ability to give them 3x, 2x returns on their economic side of things. And so that has been very, very positive for us. And we have seen the impact, we have seen the results. It works, and it works. So we're really happy that DataCamp is really partnering with us to help us make this dream come true and help lift Africa out of poverty, one African youth at a time.
It's our pleasure, and I've loved seeing the success stories from Ingressa for Good, from Data Science Nigeria, from Hyper Island and Launch Code. So many other nonprofit partners that not only are we giving people educations, but we're actually giving people the confidence and the skills to walk into job interviews and land those jobs. And I'm so excited to be continually sharing more information about that on the DataCamp blog. Please stay tuned to that space. We're almost out of time here, but just before we go, I want to quickly open it up to everyone else to ask any other questions of Blessing. Just a quick reminder about their Ingressa for Good's overall goal of upskilling 1 million Africans in 10 years. They're incredibly noble. So happy to help out in any way we can. In 5 years? Jeez. Okay. All right.
It's even bolder than we thought.
Yeah.
Initially, we were scared, but recently we started this year really, really strong. So far, we've been able to give scholarships to over 50,000 people already, and people are learning how to code. And then we were going to train just 1,000 women in design. And just like we thought 1,000, oh wow, maybe 5,000 women would apply, but we got over 17,000 applications. So there is like a thirst for knowledge here. And there are people who are eager to change their narrative, change their story. And we're just super excited to be part of that growth, part of that change. And we will hit the 1 million. And when we do, we'll call you up and be like, Nathaniel, see what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So let's end our discussion now with a free form discussion just for a few minutes. Anyone have any questions for Blessing or anyone else?
I mean, I'm just still blown away by this incredible goal that you have. And I believe that you're going to reach it. I'm just wondering, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you attain a goal like that? I mean, it sounds like organically people are signing up and exceeding your expectations, but what else are you doing kind of actively to reach that goal?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, like how exactly do you build a network of so many engaged individuals? Like, what advice can you give to other nonprofit admins who are also trying to build up large networks?
Thank you so much for this question. So these problems do not exist in isolation. And so one of the first things we do is reach out to communities who are actively trying to solve these problems. So when we wanted to do the female focused event, we went straight to communities like She Leads Africa, Leading Ladies in Africa, and all those female focused communities. And that was because that was a women focused event. But if we were doing something that was more youth focused, like we're doing with DataCamp, we would go to community leaders and just check their communities and give these community leaders an opportunity to impact their community directly. Beyond that, we always ask questions. We always come on social media. We go through press and we ask questions like, what challenges do you have? And we really, really pay attention. Sometimes a lot of people just ask these questions for data, but we don't just ask these questions for data. We always follow up. What challenges do you have? Do you want to learn data science? And if you say yes, we follow up with you. What parts of data science are you interested in? We also reach out to people who what are they called now? People who place people in jobs. And when we reach out to them, we ask them, what roles are you looking to place people in? Who are the people you have rejected? How can we reach out to them? Let's better train them to be better suited for this role. And so we also have communities that we've partnered with. We don't take partnerships lightly where we are. We take partnerships very, very seriously because we know we can't do it alone. And that's why, again, DataCamp, thank you for coming through as always. We know we can't do it alone, so we just always reach out to people who can help us per time and make sure we make things happen, because it's not about the goals, it's about the people we're impacting. And even if it's just one life we can change. I mean, we have a lady who used to sell liquid soap. All she did was sell soap to make a living. One of 6 children in a Nigerian family, and she couldn't survive on a normal day. Like, it was really difficult and earning so little. And she took this technical training course. And after taking the technical training course, we provided her with a laptop, provided her with internet. And today she is currently a junior developer at a tech firm. And her story has changed. She's earning 10x more than she used to earn before. a story is like a super success story. And so that's enough for me, And if I can
Yeah.
replicate that over 10 people, 20, 100, 1 million, that's a
Hmm.
big deal. And we would be able to create like a ripple effect of change. And so I don't mind partnering with anyone. I don't feel like anyone is a competition for us. We just feel like everyone is a potential partner. Let's see how we can
Hmm.
join forces to make this work.
Yeah, I'm operating the same way. Anyone's a potential partner. It doesn't matter if the group is 10 people or 1,000 people. And I'm also reminded of amazing groups, the partners like Partners in Development in Mississippi, Guatemala. They were already in the process of building a computer lab in Guatemala for their members who have no computers or no internet access. And then because of DataCamp Donates, they actually were able to give them some courses to actually take on those computers. And it's creating this wonderful feedback of not just access to education, but access to the technology to do the education and that the education is for. I think we have time for one last question before we go.
Blessing,
Sishan.
how's the response from the community so far by receiving the data Camp Donate access?
We've gotten nothing but amazing feedback. So initially, when we started Data Camp, we got just like 500 licenses, and we reached out to Nath, and we're like, 500 is not enough. There's so many people here who are shouting and they're asking us, literally holding us by the necks and saying, we really want this opportunity. When we put it out there, the number of applications was soaring, and it wasn't like they would just apply and disappear. They would apply, they would follow up, they would ask, they would request, and these were things that would often happen because first, access to education is super expensive. Beyond just being expensive, you probably may not get global standard education if you just did like a one-on-one. And so DataCamp is giving us global standard, is making it easy, it's self-paced, it's it's interactive, it's easy to understand, you could practice, you could do projects. It's so relatable. And when they could see like testimonials from people who are like their peers, they're super excited. They're like, oh my God, I want that too for myself. And so we're always happy to, be able to provide that in a bigger platform. We pushed that a lot. Said, oh, 500 is not enough. Could you make it 750?
I'm
And then
glad you
make it
did.
1,000. And then make it 2,000. And now
Yeah.
we're at 6,000. And it's just so excited to have this. Super sure that we'll be done with all 6,000 before the end of before June. But beyond that, it's also the ability to follow up. So while you people are taking the courses, don't just leave them hanging. Check on them, follow up, understand what the challenges are. Is it data? Let's figure out how to make it happen. Is it laptop? Let's get you to a hub. Is it internet? Just being there for them and following up so you can meet them at the point of their need. I think that's so important. So thank you so much for that question.
My pleasure. And with that, we are at time. We are over time, but it's just been such a fantastic discussion. I want to make sure I had enough time to get to everyone. So I want to thank you all for joining. Felix, Isabel, Kelsey, Mari, Zishan, Blessing. Thank you so much for joining and for being DataCamp Donates partners. I also want to remind everybody watching that we need your help to reach our goal of 25,000 licenses and beyond. That won't be the end of DataCamp Donates. Still working out exactly what form it will take after we reach that initial goal. But if you work for an organization that could benefit from DataCamp Donates, please reach out to me. Email us at donate@datacamp.com to apply. Please keep in mind we are only accepting applications on behalf of organizations. Individuals, please check us out on datacamp.com. Read the fact for the whole full list of partner organizations. Start reaching out to organizations that are that fit with your interests or are close to you geographically speaking. And I hope that you can join us on your learner journey on DataCamp Donates. That's it for me, Nathaniel Taylor Leach, Partnerships Manager at DataCamp. Have a good one, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Mom. Hi, Mom.